this last minute kind of update. Alex, can you hear me okay?
Hello. Hey, Simon.
Hey, welcome. Thanks for doing this.
Hey, no problem.
And the main reason I'm calling on you is because the last time that you spoke to us, you kind of predicted that you were worried about Luna and that there could be something like a black swan event with Luna. And lo and behold, it happened. So I want to know, what was it that you saw in the chart of Luna that prompted you to think that, and then what you think the where you think we're going from here. So thank you for coming on board, and yeah, I'd like to get your thoughts on that. And it looks like we've got a good amount of folks here who are probably going to want to ask you questions. So I'm going to turn it over to you and let you share your screen if you want to.
Yeah, sure. Let me just share my screen. I think it's this one. Do you see my screen? I'm moving it.
Yes, I can see your screen right now. And for those who are here, I think everybody knows who you are, but in case they don't know who you are, Alex is an Elliott wave specialist who was brought to our attention because using Elliott wave theory, he actually, I believe, predicted the last dip in a year ago in May. And he's been a regular guest here, providing his excellent analysis. And so we'd like to hear what you think about this major crash and, where it's going.
Hello to everybody first. I apologize. I didn't, I was actually not for last time. I was on the stream with you was 7th of January. So you would like me to focus only on Luna, or would you like me to dip in?
Well, let's start there because, because of what you said about Luna the last time, I guess it was in January, I stayed away from it. Like, I got this sense when you said there could be a black swan event with Luna, and I thought, okay, I'm not even going to mess with it. And, I was a big fan of Luna about a year and a half ago when it was, about this price nowadays. And it certainly had a nice run, but when you saw what you saw, I stayed away. And so let's start with Luna and see what you think, how well you think it will rebound, because I mean, it's probably going to rebound. There's a lunar eclipse, right? I mean, astrologically, we can see what's happening. There's an eclipse happening exactly on Luna's sun in the horoscope, and it's very bad. But yeah, let's see what you think. I'm going to shut up.
What is the sign of that sun? Just from curiosity.
It is in Aries in the sidereal zodiac. It's in Taurus in the Vedic, in the Western.
Oh my God! So Aries, very potent.
Very potent, and it's with Uranus, and it happened right on the sun of Luna. Luna's horoscope.
Yeah. Okay. Let me start then with Luna. As you know, my basic kind of a filtering tool, among other things, is the Elliott wave theory, which I'm a practitioner of already for almost, I don't know, 12, 15 years. I've been learned into that methodology from one of the very proficient world-known guys. And over the time, I became relatively known for a couple of things I have called using this filter. This is just depends on the skills, details, of course, many hours of work, just to filter my emotional setup. When I was started being involved more in financial markets, I realized my emotions are going back and forth, and I need some filter to actually put in front the markets and myself, as we are emotional, fear and greed humans. And this tool has helped me to navigate pretty much every market relatively, at least to keep myself out of a big trouble um, during such times. So let me start with Luna. I will just first explain just a couple of basic tenets. So Elliott wave theory, I will not, of course, go into the details, but usually everything goes in a kind of a small cycles, in the bigger cycles. So usually you will have an impulsive wave, a correction, and then you will have another impulsive wave, another correction, and then the cycle will be over. And we usually mark this with the 5 waves up, with the correction being marked at letters. And this is depicted as actually unconscious swings in the human population between fear and greed. So there is 13 patterns with their variations, which actually just explain when majority of investors are becoming fearful or they are becoming greedy. Okay, so it's like a pendulum which goes from optimism to pessimism back and forth. And usually I look at larger time frames because they give more objective picture. Okay, so I will start with Luna. And Luna, actually, I published that picture today. Of course, I didn't know that this type of event will happen, but in December of 2021, I have saw a first basic 5-wave swing structure with Fibonacci ratios. Usually, we do this type of analysis using a kind of an objective derived laws from nature. And one thing from that segment is using these Fibonacci ratios, or from a perspective of targets, we are using this type of clustering because nothing goes in one direction indefinitely. As you can see, there is always upside and corrections. You can transfer that over also in human lives. Especially, it's visible when you analyze some careers of the sport guys, Hollywood stars, or something which is more visible. Let's say in my life, it goes not so volatile as to some humans which are, let's say, known and have a relatively volatile careers. So when we do analysis, we are looking for two major corrections, and I spotted that from the beginning, Luna has made the first correction here. Usually this portion of the market is most strongest one, which we label as a wave 3. Then we have a corrective pullback in a wave 4. So we had a main thing, which we call a secondary correction before the trend is over, and actually around these price targets, Luna completed its move on the upside and fell, as you know. Of course, at that time, I didn't know what will happen to this extent. Usually, when we look for a pullbacks, it will be some around this zone. It went much lower. And excuse me to my language, but while the Bitcoin was still consolidating and Ether, I saw this on Luna, and my comment was, Luna chart looks scary as shit to me here, because none of the market participants actually paid attention on this chart. And I have seen the basic structure and the Fib cluster from the perspective of the lens I'm looking the markets. And for me, that is a sign that either some big event will happen on the downside, because it was not logical also from this point that Luna has actually completed the cycle and the Bitcoin is still in consolidation and potentially going higher. So I could not kind of reconcile these two opposite things, because usually we know when the Bitcoin goes up, other altcoins are following to a lesser or greater extent. So it was really strange to me how Luna has actually completed the cycle and a Bitcoin still isn't. That is to say, I'm going to show you a live chart now. So I don't think that Luna is going to die. At least doesn't look to me so. Everybody is, as you know, talking about Luna is dead. Everything is going to hell. So our emotional bias as humans with this event starts to unfold is that, of course, we go to extreme. So in my opinion, I'm going to wait some signs. Potentially Luna, of course, can be bought very cheaply, as you know already. So if we look the current chart, it actually depicts this five-way move, which collapsed down. So usually when you have a secondary wave pullbacks, for example, like you have it this on Bitcoin, which is depicted here, which is to a less extent so violent. I have seen these events in my career, so this Luna is not the first case. But usually when these things occur, you will have a first sequence, and then the secondary one will wipe out everybody out of the market, and then recovery might be slow, but when Bitcoin do recover, which I think it's going to, I think that this will be opportunity for. So the question is, many alts are very cheap now. As I looked a couple of charts which actually achieved my targets, like Polkadot and a couple of others. So if this starts to develop and Bitcoin turns, which I think it's going to, I will show you the levels which I was emphasizing on January. I think that this will roar on the upside. So I'm still not sure, of course. I will not bet at the current state. I will wait for some confirmation, which will actually on the smaller time frame tell me that this correction is over, and that actually we are developing a new trend on the upside, and this will take time. So this is a weekly time frame. If I go on a smaller one, which is daily, of course, a devastating event, moving from almost 100 and 1,220 down to almost 1 and even below. So usually we are looking these retracements ratios. 786, especially on the secondary wave, can be regarded as a usual target. We did same actually in Bitcoin here, which I will show you on the chart, 786 retracement of this pullback, although it was a less sharper, of course, than this blowout, what happened on Luna. Let me just see what's okay. So I don't see this collapsing further. If it collapses, then of course game will be over. But as long as we trade within these parameters here that I'm looking, I'm still going to seek for signs for a potential reversal, because when you have these extremes, of course, there is a lot of people which was out of the market, and maybe they're looking potentially to provoke and try to put some longs here. And if this gains some traction, that will produce a new uptrend, especially if other cryptos turn, because many of them are very cheap now, especially after today, and that can be looked as a really a new opportunity to get some of these projects very cheaply. We all know why Luna collapsed, but will it collapse further and completely? That is left to be seen. But as I said, I'm just waiting for signs that we are going to develop some of these beginning patterns, which will say to me that actually at least we're going to get a big correction or a further continuation on the upside. So I will approach it with a very small risk when I see what I want to see, and then of course I will add risk if I see Luna climbs above this 12, 13, 15. That will be a sign for me that we might continue further on the upside. So basically, that's it, Simone. If you have any questions or anybody has any questions in regards of Luna, please be free to
Go ahead,
join.
guys. Feel free to chime in. When you say it may take time, what kind of time frame are you looking at? A few weeks, a few months?
Yeah, I mean, as you know, timing is relatively difficult category. We can argue this, what is going on the stock markets. The Cathy Wood's arc is, of course, collapsed lower. I think that actually she's right on most of the things she says, but the timing was wrong. And I mean, that's why just mentioning because of the time relation, I don't think that this event is actually influencing that much Bitcoin as the altcoins, especially a couple of them. So I will not connect even a fast recovery with the crypto recovery. Of course, it will be good that all go together in synchronized manner, and you will see on Bitcoin and on Ether that might actually post some lows in a couple of weeks. So uh, according to the charts I'm looking, okay.
Okay. There's a question in the chat. Do we see another crypto black swan event this year? That's more of a general question, but can can you
Yeah,
speak to
I
that, or
can.
is that
Yeah, sure, but I can include that when I go to the overall Bitcoin chart as a kind of a main feature from where I would look for a black swan event or not. So I have a
okay?
specific levels that I'm looking, and that will be clear.
Let's go there then. Let's do it.
Okay, so let me just give you a small recap, not because of the something that I said or I didn't said. I have also missed a couple of them. That's not an issue, but just to follow the thread of thoughts, how these charts with these weird numbers actually unfold. So my beginning thing from the March of 2021 was actually that you can see this chart. I posted that in a March of 14, 2021. That actually one of the things which I'm speaking very much out loud on the YouTube and everywhere with the members is this sentiment, which is a kind of a psychological nature of the human involved in trading. So here, as I have seen some of the ratios, which I already mentioned, are very close to my target. I said that I'm doubting that Bitcoin will cross above 74K to a secondary target. And I think the big correction is coming. So for me, crypto winter, which was announced in November, started actually in March of 2021. And as you can see, of course, I didn't know the form in which this correction will unfold. I have two of them, and I will show you both of them. So um, this is only thanks to this tool that I was able to actually be in front of 99% of the crypto market, which was calling 100K to 100K. And since then, we have been actually in this correction for this secondary pause, which is actually a balance between bulls and bears before we get another move on the upside. So later on, I have did a video with you on January. This is that video. So I have only two wave counts, as we call them. So usually we have one when we are faced with these corrections, which we still don't know the finishing form, which is unfolding. I had a 20K, 20 to 22K target, and I also had, as you can see here, a triangulation or a more sideways possible correction, which I think we already invalidated or we are going to. So this is the live chart. If we are going to see Bitcoin cross 28, yeah, 28,800. So the triangle is already validated. So we are in this scenario, which I will go just in a second. So same thing was also for Ether. So this is a triangle which was ongoing. So I was looking the pattern which actually unfolded up to this point here when we started to collapse lower, and then my secondary scenario was relatively directional move, which is unfolding now to 20K 22K, which is a very visible support, and I will explain why. On Ether was pretty much the same thing. So I was looking the Ether chart, doing basically the same thing on January. So this is just depicting a picture of a contracting triangle, which I was looking at that time. And the secondary Ether chart was pretty much the same, looking for a downside target, either in more directional or in triangulation. So since we crossed some level, I have a very specific levels for the Ether as well. But as you can see, that was very early, kind of a spottable. Of course, probability-wise, I'm not, I'm far not that smart to know. And this is just a tool which I will say gain just a capability of reading it after many hours of practice, and of course many accounts burned where I was learning. So this was just a probability. So when we look for a potential correction, we are not looking so much to be focused on the fall, because in this we are looking more to be focused on a target so we can capture the ongoing trend. Okay, because usually when these patterns unfolds, the only clue we had and which I explained is that the secondary correction was directional. So usually uh, the first correction was directional, secondary one was usually more of a sideways nature, and then hence my first take was a triangle, and secondary take was a more complex correction down to this level. So this is January 7th on the stream, explaining these two scenarios. And basically I'm standing at the same two scenarios. The one is invalidated, as I have said. So when we look the current scenario, which is the only one left, we have two patterns. One is, I will not bother you too much with the pattern. This is just a 3 waves down, 3 waves up to a specific Fib ratios. I was very vocal. I was a little bit not sure here. I was going back and forth. Do we going to continue higher? But we have a very specific ratios, which we also looked at these levels. And I said, if we pass this level, we are safe. If we go lower, we're gonna most likely go into a triangle or something more deeper. So why this level is so much visible and so important? So when you look from a technical side, there is many things on these levels that you would like to look, and even before. So I posed the question a couple of days ago, because as sentiment develops in a craze on a bull side, it develops on a craze on a bear side. So if you look this larger time frame of a Bitcoin chart, this is a weekly chart. Couple of things, just purely from a technical perspective, not including the Elliott wave numbers or phases, which we mark with these letters and numbers. If you look from almost 2014, this 200 moving average has kept pretty nicely every of these fall on the downside. So this was 2015, this was 2018 December, this was March 2020 COVID crisis, and now we are coming to the point where the same things occur. So the only indicator I usually look, I don't deal too much with them, is on the higher time frame. I explained that many times here, is the RSI. So if you look this on a weekly level, you will see that line which comes around 30, we are very close to it, and we are going to be in a couple of days there. Okay, so if you look 2015, we touched this level around 29 and we bounced. It took a little time, but then of course it formulates itself further on a pretty sizable move on the upside. Then we did that again on 2018. We bounced in the first 5 waves, a correction. Same to the same point, we had a small penetration, but we quickly was back on the track, posting another high here, and now we are facing the same thing on the RSI. So this is just the 200 moving average weekly and the RSI study, and of course this channel, which is a secondary information. This channel are subjective, although I did mention many times that this middle line was pretty much important for the further upside or downside, because we traded below it a couple of times, as you can see here, and we crossed it once below it. We continued pretty sizably on the downside. So there is just a couple of details. When you do this 15, 20 years, of course, your eye gets a little bit more trained to see these type of things. And that's the only because of practice, not that I'm possessing some special skill or anything else which I will ascribe to myself. So from that perspective, it is very visible. So very soon, either a big bounce or a sizable low or a tradable low for the next year or two. Time-wise, I will show you some time distances because we use that as well. So current chart has a couple of other features which are including now the other forces which we include in analysis. So this is the mentioned 200 moving average. The RSI I already showed you, which is also of course visible on this chart. This is a little bit of a different chart tool which enables us to kind of quickly draw. So this was the first correction in my opinion. 786, I mentioned these retracement levels. We penetrated a little bit, then bounced back. Why I did successfully said that this is a potential top, because there is a very distinct fib ratio here, which didn't allow by the law of kind of a universal thing how the things can go and develop and retrace. We were very close to this 200 moving average. And as you have seen, I have said, I doubt we will cross this level. I missed it for a 5 grand. But in the overall scheme of things, when you look how the sentiment was at that time, I was very, very in minority in almost in all community. Also here as well, and I think that the sentiment which is becoming now crazy bearish will do the same thing to people as it did it here. People will start calling 10K, 5K, I don't know, I'm already hearing some crazy numbers. But if we looked objectively from the mathematical standpoint, either from the study I have showed you, and this is the other study which I will show you, we have a plethora of supports around these levels, which of course I think it's going to hold, because you cannot find stronger things pointing out to support than this one. So I don't know if institutions, which I think are the only one able to produce the next rally, because we are in this inflationary environment, things are becoming expensive. We also have Russia-Ukraine war, energy is expensive, affecting everything, inflation goes up. So retail space, especially after this crash, will not have sufficient funds to produce half or 1 trillion move on the upside in cryptos. So that can only start and even run by big institutionals which are governing billions. And I think this will be their level for now. So either this will develop in a more complex correction. So one of the things also that I mentioned relatively earlier in that respect was that Bitcoin might do this complex correction, which means from here we will move down. It's just a variation. You see here the pattern. So we did actually correct to 200 moving average on daily and collapse down, and this was my target, which is just a variation, nothing special. So the same thing, either we are in this variation or this, we call this an ending diagonal, which actually just goes, I will say, squeeze in a type of a diagonal pattern going back and forth. So either a little bit more directional, or we will see a bounce and then a final push down. So Usually what we look here is a base channel. This is a base channel, and this is the acceleration channel. This base channel is actually derived from the highs of the beginning move on the upside and the correction, as you can see. And usually it forms a very strong level as a secondary thing. I already showed you the technical chart, which has a very strong case in regards of the overall, kind of a channeling thing, and also, as you can see here, in regards of the RSI and 200 moving average on weekly. And here we have a couple of fib ratios which are so strong, clustering here, that I think these levels from 20 to 26, 27K will be the zone from where we will see a bounce and maybe a little bit more downside, or a reversal on cryptos. And this reversal, of course, will not be something which will be so phenomenal in the beginning. We might go a little bit of sideways, make some base, and then somebody will start to play brave, make a first wave on the upside, we will correct, and then we will develop a new uptrend as the inflationary scare or the overall macro environment changes, of course. I've been mentioning this macro environment for almost a year because people were not so paying attention from where this money will come from. I always ask people, if you think Bitcoin is going to go to 200, 300K and market cap currently is, let's say, 1 trillion or 2, you need to add another trillion to make this move. So a very good question is from where it's going to come. Who is going to put that money on table to actually make this move on the upside, on the price of a Bitcoin? So I think these levels are pretty much attractive. If we break this level, I will allow only a small break to a 17, 18K, and after that, I will look and focus on a more bearish development. So for me, this is the last point where the Bitcoin can stop, and looking some prices currently on alts, that is definitely what I think is going to happen. So if you look, for example, Polkadot, I was showing this chart to my members for a long time. Of course, I did make some modifications as this trend develops, but my target was already from here, I think, is around 6 or 7. So that's relatively very cheap. Not relatively, it is very cheap when you look at the whole structure. So I would like to see these levels hold. I think a couple of weeks will pass until this calms down, makes a small correction, then final move down, and then we're going to go forming some base for a potential reversal. So that's my kind of a plan. How do I observe these developments? So the same thing can be seen on Ether. Of course, if you have any questions in regards to these observations, you can of course.
Alex, so you think institutions are waiting at around 22,000? That looks like the on Bitcoin.
Yeah. So as I said, first observation, looking all of these parameters, which I think I've explained from various sides. My conclusion, looking this like a doctor is looking a patient, is that either very soon we're gonna post something of this move down will slow, and we will post some lows, and then depends on the response. If I see a fourth wave in this contracting diagonal and the move down, then I will be glued for 20 to 22K as a final move lower. If we start piercing through these levels around 32, 35, 40, then I will mark this as a low, and then I will look for a 5 waves up and a pullback for a continuation on the upside. So I have a couple of more details to unfold here, but they're of a minor nature as we are developing current wave structure. So this will be my most visible best case scenario. I think that everybody who is doing some type of analysis will actually find that many institutions are looking for 20K. And this is visible, as I joking, from the Tesla car, which is floating in the space currently. So this is so visible level from technical perspective that even a couple of months beginner can see it. Usually market doesn't come to these levels when they're so obvious. Since the crypto or the new asset classes, maybe it will. I'm still not sure, but definitely in the next couple of days, or let's say week or two, I will be more clearer. Is this some type of a potential loss, or we're gonna fall into a little bit more of a sideways, then a final move lower, and then development. So for me, 20 to 3K will be a possible first small entries. If something changes here, we continue on the upside, I will wait for a pullback and start exploring a possibility for moving higher. So from the perspective of Ether, it's basically the same picture. If you look the whole wave structure, same thing is occurring. So this was a first pause. So Bitcoin and Ether are pretty much correlated. 200 moving average on Ether is a little bit lower on weekly. It comes around 1,900, 1,000, which is 800, 900 bucks from there. So a little bit of a different pattern in regards of labeling. And that is just this small percentage that Ether and Bitcoin are not having 100% perfect correlation. They usually fluctuate if you measure correlation from 0 to 1, from 0.85 to 0.94 correlation ratio. So they're pretty correlated. But this couple of, let's say, points has changed a little bit of a structure, but not the target. So 38% retracement comes at 1,000. And if we do this extreme, we will go to these levels. If not, I will be looking for 1,700 as some type of a finishing lows, and I will look for a reversal, which will be a sign for me that potentially the trend has reversed, and a pullback will be viable for me for a further upside. So basically the same chart. I'm hearing I'm hearing somebody, but not you, Simon. Hey,
Yeah,
hello.
I just muted them. I just muted them.
Oh,
Go ahead with your question. Does someone have a question?
Yeah, Alec, just a quick question. Any thoughts on the traditional markets, QQQ and DIA and SPY?
sorry, I didn't catch that.
Any thoughts on traditional markets, QQQ and SPY, SPY?
Yeah, I mean, so uh, if I see that something which is usually marked as I mean, just to show you something which deals with correlations. So and that will basically say, so Bitcoin is to a degree correlated with dollar. So the correlation over the 10 years is 0.6, which is not considered ideal inverse correlation. Actually, Bitcoin and dollar started to correlate when we have seen the 2020 COVID crisis, and from there we can say they're tightly correlated, but before that both of them was going on the upside. Because on the dollar there is many other influences, but what you're going to see as a relatively nice correlation, and that will be the answer for you, is this is semiconductor ETF, SMH. So as you can see this correlation, you will see that they pretty much go together, okay? So if I think Bitcoin will move up, of course, I will search lows for potentially either on the S&P, Nasdaq, or SMH. Or QQQ, or whatever ETF you're mentioning. I don't think Bitcoin can still decouple and go up on the upside. I mean, in the event that we are seeing really devastated crash in stocks, maybe they will move their funds into cryptos, but that didn't happen so far in the last 10 years. I don't know why it's going to happen now. I will not exclude that possibility, but it will be a low probability event. So I think we are still not at the time where cryptos is going to decouple from other markets, because usually as the space and the projects, they should be decoupled, in my opinion.
Okay, looks
Well-
like there's a question about Cadena, KDA. Have you looked at that, or do you want to look at that at all? So, and if you guys have other questions, go ahead and chime in.
Yeah, as you can see, the wave count here didn't work. I was looking for a fourth wave pullback and a move on the upside. So it failed. We have only 3 waves up, and we didn't. We actually didn't do anything sufficient. So the only best case scenario for this, if we stop near, is to do a 4, which is called a leading diagonal, which means that the wave 4 can enter the territory of the wave 5, and that will look something like this. But we need to stop here, and we need actually to reverse, make some sign of reversal, pullback, and then this will be viable. Otherwise, if this continues to move lower, the RSI on daily is pretty low, so maybe some bounce soon. 5 ways down with a triangle, so this might be over. But when I say that, I'm not meaning I'm gonna enter. I'm just gonna produce my hypothesis and wait for some type of a confirmation where my risk will be the smallest. So I never call the lows and highs as a per se. I usually look for a clustering of zones, and of course I'm looking for a bounce and some type of a confirmation to lower my risk. Just a small example, if I want to trade this one, I will not of course buy it now, because why should I buy a falling knife? This knife can go on a new low or to zero. I don't know that. I'm not that smart. So I'm just going to obey the rules, wait for some recovery, and the pullback. If I see the recovery in a form I like, I can buy it and put the stops here, and my risk will be this small for a potential this gain. Okay, so that is how my mind is functioning. So this will be my best guess for this one.
Alex, there's a good question in the chat about is there a space or a way people can subscribe to you to know when a good entry would be for Luna? Like when you think, hey, this chart looks like it's we have a confirmed reversal and the impulse is up.
Yeah, I do have a membership at tradinganalysis.com, the company which I work for. We have an extensive cryptocurrency coverage. But if you are seeking just for Luna, you can, you can search me on a YouTube. I do a crypto lab every Thursday. It's Crypto Lab with Alex, where I usually go into a little bit of depth in macro things, and also and I do these macro things, what the central banks are doing, liquidity, 10-year yields, stock markets, just because this is connected still with the liquidity in cryptos, as we see. I was very vocal for the last year, seeking for everybody who was claiming that crypto markets were going to go sizably down, or going to do something like a black swan event, to actually explain that from the form of liquidity, not from the charts or something else, but generally fundamentally. environment which this liquidity is put on, or at least psychologically plays a big part of the market sentiment. So that's why I also do a little bit of macro. So if you want to find out where the Luna is going to go, I don't think you need to subscribe. I mean, you can either look my Twitter. I usually publish that. I'm not hiding this much. This is the Bennett. He works in stocks with us. He is also, it's his wave count, not the mine one. So he's also looking for 23K on a Bitcoin. My chart looks a little bit different. It's not so extended to the downside. It's more in this region. But we kind of both of us actually are proficient in this tool, so we go back and forth, sometimes exchanging opinions, of course, and we agree in most of cases because we are seeing the same patterns. So yeah, so just to return back to your question, probably you should either look CryptoLab or watch my Twitter handle. I will probably publish. I was thinking today Luna might do something like this, but no, it just collapsed straight. So sometimes the form is a little bit more sharper there. Okay, so usually you might find it here. I post many things without any chart. So this was an interesting chart announcing move down in Nasdaq. This was done a couple of months ago. This is just a simple study of the longer term monthly Nasdaq chart and the RSI. And as you can see, I pointed out here and right that everybody should be careful because the monthly RSI was hitting the previous levels in the last almost 25 years with every posted high there, as you can see. And of course, what happened, it collapsed because this is a very big time frame and this study is very strong. On a smaller time frames, it might not work, but on monthly level, we are already somewhere around there below 50. Okay, so not much left to the downside. Yeah, I don't know if it is going to recover. I hope so. I mean, I don't want to. I try never to fall under the massive sentiment that is going on because I recognize it. So it usually has a feature to overshoot either on the upside or on the downside. So I don't want to be a part of that. I don't have an opinion in that respect. I just said technically, as I said in December, I think if it makes what I want to see, I think it's going to recover. So it's a step-by-step process.
Alex, this is Sandeep. I just wanted to thank you profusely, you and Simon. I still, yesterday it so happened that I saw your video because I remember you clearly saying that you were scared of Luna and you'll hit $10. And you also vividly said that you're not going to put any new money. If you would put money, you would only put money in May, end of May, and look at it. So my question is, are you comfortable of putting money in May? I think end of May, you'll be probably 2 weeks. We have to wait. So I just wanted to see what was your take on that. And also, I know you look at gold and silver because now gold and silver are still down, but they are holding up the last 2-3 days. I know you look at those charts. If you could give, I know you did it last Thursday and you're going to do it tomorrow with the macro thing. But if you could just let us know. And Simon, I had a question about, I know these two eclipses are there, but from an astrological standpoint, Jupiter's in his own house. It's hitting that 4 degrees. It's becoming infamous sidereal thing. It's going to Aries. As Christodomus said. Venus also is exalting. Is it the eclipses are overpowering the Jupiter, Venus, which are in the exalted status, own house and exalted status? Do you have any take on that? Yeah.
Okay, so that's a couple of questions. So time-wise, we are using from the technical perspective some time ratios, which you see here. So as this channeling, so I will subdivide from the perspective of science this into a primary and secondary information that I usually take into account. Primary informations are mostly in the fib ratios and the phase in which I think the market is. And secondary are all of these other features like a base channel, 200 moving average, RSI, from where I tend to look to a confirmation on the larger time frame. So in the secondary features that we are looking is one of the time feature which actually measures how much time we spent in a first correction and how much time we will spend in second correction. Okay, so this is something which is called in Elliott Wave a right look guideline. So it's not a rule. You have only 4 rules, which are relatively simple, but the guideline deals with a kind of a mathematical proportions, what is going on here. And this guideline says that time-wise, usually secondary correction should be longer than the second one. It says also that if this is directional, time-wise, the secondary correction should be longer. So equality, when we actually had the same time consumed here, was at November 14, 2021, exactly on this high. Okay, so you see here a Fibonacci ratio, which says to you that exactly on this spot, we actually reached the ideal time, which we seek at least to be achieved. Okay, in very rare cases, we are looking less than equality for the wave 4, and it's kind of understandable. When people start to move here, there is an opposing force which still doesn't believe the recovery is in, and then more buying is actually killing the bears, and then the secondary correction will take more time to balance it. Okay, so it's just a reaction, action-reaction kind of a thing. So the secondary ratio we look at is 1618, which is a kind of a, it's not a kind of a, it's a golden ratio. So that came at April 24. We are now May 11th, so the next one will be 200, which comes around July 31st. Sometimes these ratios kind of miss, of course, if they're correct, there will be no mistakes, but it can be around. So that's why we are using a couple of these things. So on timing, I cannot be specific and tell you end of May. I can just look all of these parameters and say, when it happens, I will say probability, because you're dealing only with probabilities here, most likely is very much increasing. We are there. So in this type of things, I never do a firm conclusions. Everything is in the air, and everything weights other things. So I'm not fixated on almost anything, and I'm floating between all of these facts and things until I can see a reversal signature and actually say, okay, now probability is much higher that actually this was the final low at, let's say, July 31st.
Very cool.
Yeah, let me just
Mhm.
go over gold and silver quickly. So gold needs to move from here. I was very vocal on the YouTube in regards of gold. Gold in this crazy times posted just a $200 move on the upside. So this is the last ratio for gold. Gold needs to move around 2000 and make a pullback for a continuation. Otherwise, it will continue going back to below 1700. Same thing with silver. I was looking silver many times and said on the previous Crypto Labs that we are not going to go higher. It break the channel technically, but it didn't stage out the necessary sequence I'm looking for a reversal signature, and then it flushed down to this almost 450-day support. Couple of bounces are possible, and then I'd look a little bit more lower around 17, 19, and then from there I will look for a reversal signature, and then when probability might be on my side technically, I might peak a little bit of in a let's say potential trade, or look for a scaling in or something like that with the firm stops below.
I'll just add a couple of things. If Luna does recover, as you're optimistic it will, or as we're, I guess, all optimistic it will, Rahu in October of this year, October through December, will enter the sound Lu. And as we've seen that when Rahu enters the sound of a coin, it can pump certain coins with that sound. Now it's in the sound A, but unfortunately there are a lot of A coins out there, you know, with the letter A. And it seems like it pumped a few of those before we had this major crash. So I think Luna, I mean, you know, my opinion doesn't matter that much because I've been pretty off lately, but just not making a prediction, but just looking at if Luna is, you know, continues to be strong and recover, that it may have a nice burst October through December. Of course, that's not the only driving factor, but that is just one thing astrologically speaking. And you know, the thing is, Rahu prizes things that are survivors. So if this thing does survive, then it may have a, you know, pretty strong impulse up around that time. Other questions? Let's see. I'm looking at the chat here. Alana, check out the first part. We've been here about an hour already, so he covered that. But there are some questions. Let's see. I guess everyone. So what? I mean, what is your take on Luna's recovery? It looks like there's a lot of questions about that here. Just the one line, one sentence kind of answer. Alex, what's your take?
Yeah, I really, I mean, cannot have that decisive take until I see, because my take is going to be based on purely technical things, especially after this fall. So if I look this chart and we are trading at 1.04 with a couple of levels that I already shown, I'm not going to play a brave guy and kind of I mean, you can gamble a small portion. Nobody is going to be hurted by that. But my last resort ratio will be at 0.51. So if we start creeping below, for me, probability will increase. We will go basically maybe even to zero. I cannot state that in this current phase. But for now, I mean, how you can say this will, and which type of recovery this will make in this stage, you cannot, nobody can do that. So what you can do is actually either wait for some signs that you are looking or buy blindly. For me, I'm more of a kind of a signs approach. So I will look for recovery at least on a smaller time frames, which gives me a confidence in either a larger recovery or a fuller recovery. And I will notice that by looking at the development. So for now, I don't see that. So I cannot tell you if this will recover in the future. Who knows that? I don't think anybody knows that.
Okay, fair enough.
So these things
good.
go.
Yeah, that's a great answer. Other questions about other? Earlier I saw somebody asking about ADA, Cardano. Let's see, and SRM. Really, it's about Alex. You can cover whatever you want to cover. But this, yeah, there were a couple people asked. Somebody asked about Cardano. I think it's probably all dependent on, you know, the same thing. Oh, have you talked about Solana? No, Alex has not talked about Solana. That's actually one I'm curious about.
Yeah, most of this they can see on the Crypto Lab tomorrow. I will look for Solana. Yes, Solana is.
By the way, Crypto Lab is, so it's every Thursday, 9 a.m. Eastern. So it's 6 a.m. Pacific time, free on YouTube. And
Yeah.
you take question and answer on there, yeah?
Yeah, I don't answer all of them. Of course, it will be a, I don't know, 2 hour. I mean,
Yeah, that's
and
amazing, man.
and it is what is funny, Simon, is that I've been doing this almost for a year and a half, and I've been not because of me, as I'm saying, it's just because of the tool. Right in a, I will say, many cases, and my following is 1,000 people.
I know that's incredible. I know. I
I
know.
mean, no, it doesn't bother me, but I'm just saying how much this. I mean,
Well,
this is
you got to
insane.
put some animals or some boobs or something in your thumbnails. Make it
Yeah,
exciting.
I
Yeah.
mean, I'm looking a couple of these crypto guys, which actually, I mean, from all of the what is worth, they were wrong like 99% of the time. They kind of have like 700,000 people.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I'm just wondering, not because of me, but it's just like a phenomenon. It's
Well,
really
I don't think it's you, it's the algorithm. So we had CTO Larson here. I don't know if you're familiar with his channel. He's
no.
we had him come talk to our group. He's excellent. He has something called the Larson line. He's very, very good, very technical, very patient, cautious. And he's been trying to build his channel for the last year, and he makes very slick videos, like great editing, sound, production, all that. And again, he's had the worst time getting a following because he speaks very technical stuff, and it's hard for lay people to follow. So I wouldn't be. I think it's the algorithm. He says it too. He says, "Look, just give me a like and a subscribe, because if you don't, YouTube won't lead you to my channel. Like it's just it doesn't like my channel."
Oh, it's simply that.
Yeah, yeah. So everybody who's here, I mean, we got 50 people here, probably at least more
No. It's
who
okay.
listen.
Come on,
No, no,
I'm
no.
not.
I'm all for it. And you are before our class on Thursday. So tomorrow we will have class at 10 a.m. Pacific, 1 p.m. Eastern. And we're going to have a presentation on a potential a crypto that hasn't come out yet from one of our own members. And I'm
Okay,
excited to
great,
hear about that. We've got a
great.
few of those projects brewing. So, you know, hopefully, potentially, I know nobody has any money. I don't have any money left, nobody. But even if you have a couple $100, potentially that can, you know, do something.
Yeah,
Uh,
sure.
but
If
that's tomorrow, but that'll be after. So there's time to watch both of them. And especially if you get up early and, you
yeah,
know,
basically, I will repeat most of the things that I've said tonight in a not so detailed manner because I of course own gratitude to you, Simon, and um, in regards of you letting me in to give my rumblings here for the last couple of months. But it will be less detailed because, of course, on that YouTube, I do that for a company just to get viewers. But you might see one of them, me doing some cryptos that you can ask on a comments, and I will usually do them for a couple of times. So that's not a problem. I see that there is somebody who wants to donate. Um, Please don't do that to me. Simon already has a couple of donations links. If you would like to do something like that in order to appreciate me, do it for Simon's links, which I already did. So
That's very generous of you. And your ramblings, if people listened to them, would have saved people a lot of money and made people a lot of money. So, um, I'm going to put something out there, and maybe I shouldn't do it publicly, but I'm just going to say it. Um, Alex, do you do any kind of portfolio management, or have you thought about it?
Uh, Honestly, I did roll out a small portfolio for my members, but that portfolio is still, it is live in a sense that I rolled out a kind of a just defined a couple of crypto spaces like NFTs, like currencies, like interoperability projects. Just divide them in a couple of groups and add uh, one or two kind of a best case scenario projects like blue chips. So for especially for these guys which are part of this trading analysis, I try to just roll them out for a blue chips. I'm not venturing too much into some type of risky things. So this is just the usual blue chip cryptos in the space. And that portfolio is just for their orientation in a sense. If they miss a couple of these blue chips, so they can add on in their own holdings at a certain time when I think it's due. And in regards of the timing, if you can see all of the alts and the prices now, and as I explained on the Bitcoin, I think we might see, of course, a couple of weeks or I don't know, months or two, some type of a changing directions and some signs that we might reverse these things. So, couple of things also. This thing, as I said, can reverse only from institutional side. So at 2022, 23K, of course, either hedge funds or anybody else, I think we'll start to put some amounts of money start to enter slowly, because that will be almost equal as the prior corrections, which was in a round of 70, 77. This one will be a close to 70% correction, which is the usual for Bitcoin if you look the pullbacks. So I will just look that from you from a percent change. If you look all of these corrections, most of them are like 80%, 77. So this one will be 67 or 70 around this from these highs. So I do think they will start to put some money there, and this can be a trend changer, but it might be not spotted immediately. So usually these recoveries tend to develop slowly. Okay, so you cannot expect monthly or this is weekly RSI to turn immediately and to go to I don't know 70K again. It will be a slow process, and then we might see changes in fundamental narrative in regards of inflation or something which will put the risk on assets as an early entry. So don't forget, many of the Nasdaq stocks are already 80–90% down, but you don't see that in the index because the weightings of the FANG stocks are so large that the index dropped just 20%. And the plethora of stocks, which are a sound digital new age, I will say, companies, fell 80–90% already. So you're kind of seeing an inverted and twisted picture because of these big weightings of large stocks with a big market cap. So for this to happen, of course, they might put some money in the beginning, but then you should look for a change either in narrative or in inflation or in some trigger which actually might start to put risk on again in financial markets. So maybe we're gonna see some peace in Russia-Ukraine war in a couple of weeks. I don't know if that is possible, but that will be also one of the triggers which might turn the things down, because in that case, the oil will fall, gas will also fall, and that will create a less inflationary environment, which will slow down the central banks to chase it, and that immediately will create I'm just talking one scenario. It can be a couple of them.
Very cool.
May
Questions?
I say something?
So Simon, I should have something in my chart which actually says that I can read patterns. I
I'm
guess.
sure you do. Do I have your chart? Did you have? Did you
No,
ever?
no, I didn't. I will send you, but I'm just curious. Do I have something to read patterns or and what that will be? I have no clue. Something in Libra or?
No, well, typically the eighth house creates great chess masters, mathematicians, and people who have insight, deep insight into things, who can see patterns. The eighth house and Mercury involved. So Mercury is the intellect, and then you can
Oh,
include some
Mercury.
of.
Aha. Okay. So Mercury is in Jyeshta, in
Uh-huh.
conjunction with Venus and Jupiter.
And then maybe well, that's very good. So that's 3 benefics there in Scorpio. So then if you put in some of the outer planets, Uranus, Neptune, Pluto, they are like lightning. They create.
Ah, okay.
They
I have a sextile of that with Uranus.
Okay, well, there you go. So that sextiles and trines make it very useful. You probably don't want too much Neptune involved because that creates more psychic stuff, less technical stuff. But Uranus is perfect. Yeah. So that would be my first inclination to very clear technical people, chess masters, mathematicians, chart readers tend to have
Okay.
those factors. Mercury, eighth house, and either Uranus or even Pluto involved with that.
Oh, okay. Thanks. Just I was wondering why I'm looking to these patterns like a madman, 20 hours a day.
Well,
Okay.
yeah, that's, and they asked the Kasparov that question, and they said, "How do you know what's the right move?" He says, "I just know, because I've looked at it for 20 years." You know.
Yeah, maybe it's that. Yeah.
So, any other questions? So, there's an
Yeah,
interesting
can I?
question here in the chat. Besides Bitcoin and Ethereum, for you personally, what is your favorite crypto that you are dollar cost averaging into?
Yeah, for me, as I said, I'm most likely looking this blue. I mean, I see crypto space still. There is a different look. I mean, we have a couple of theses that we are in this exponential age. That, as you know, globally we are going through a complete change of the narrative, human mind, and all sorts of this stuff. I don't know if that's true, but changes are there. So I still think that cryptos layer 1, layer 2, layer 3, and even layer 4 are still in a messy place, because even here in Serbia, every available coder is involved in some blockchain project. So everybody wants to create something which can go 1000x on the upside in the world. So that creates a messy situation when you have lots of these projects, but which one will survive will be very difficult to
Hey,
kind
if you know some of those guys and they're good, bring them to talk to us.
actually, we have one company here, which is just a very successful workshop. This guy is working actually with your acquaintance from Celsius. What is his name?
Mashinsky?
Yeah. This guy in Belgrade, he was either a CEO with Mashinsky in his company or something like that.
Uh-huh.
Did they form this together here in Belgrade or separately? I don't know. But actually, they have collected a number of guys which are kind of workers in a sense. They know to code, because blockchain is coding, and you can order actually a blockchain project and they will do it for you. Like, for example, you go and order a croissant in a French bakery and they make it for you. So they're just a kind of a factory tool, but it's a capable team of using anything you like. So
Can
I mean,
you put us in contact?
I can try. I can ask them. I have one connection there, so I can ask them if they were willing to. I'm not sure. I cannot guarantee, but
Okay.
I can try.
All right. Thank you. Yeah.
But they're just kind of. I mean, they're not.
They're engineers. You're saying they don't have
Yeah.
a token themselves that they're coming out with. They help people build their own.
Yeah. For example, they built like a puzzle. So you actually, as a company, get a program where you have a different folders, and then in these folders you already have a finished blockchain things, so you can kind of map out your own, and you just put these folders into a different screen, and actually it makes you a complete blockchain project by connecting these folders together. So
okay, I have no idea what that means, but if they've worked with Celsius and Mashinsky, they've got to be pretty good. So and I'm asking for future projects of ours that could maybe use them. So,
yeah, so I'm telling all of this because my focus is on this infrastructure blue chip cryptos. Infrastructure means, of course, Ether. It means also DeFi space. I like Aave as technically as also on the other side. So DeFi space and DeFi enabled projects are also on my list. I'm also focused on a couple of NFT things like, as you know, Sand and a couple of others. AXC from the gaming stuff. So just a kind of a cherry pick of all segments, one or two. Dogecoin, I don't think maybe in the universe of Elon Musk, these meme coins can be useful, but just a kind of a basic infrastructure stuff. Avalanche, Solana, of course, Luna until recently, as regards of a infrastructure. So Matic or a Polygon. So that's my basic kind of a picks. I'm not so adventurous into some other stuff, at least for now, because I think really the space is messy, and it will need time to differentiate these other layers. So I'm not willing. I mean, I can gamble on a couple of them, but I will not gamble much. I'm more like on a not on a safe side, but if you have Polkadot on 6, I mean, why should I ask for some projects which I don't know if even they're going to survive? I'm going to buy Polkadot at 6. I mean, and wait,
nice. Yeah.
you know what I mean. For me, it's a kind of interoperability. It's going to be the key for these blockchains to communicate. So, I mean, why should I venture into something obscure when I have something in front of me which is already a kind of a proven concept? So,
Alex, can I ask you, there's a project called Maker that I discovered a couple years ago, and I always found that when there are corrections, it doesn't correct much, and when there are bull runs, it increases. It doesn't do the hyperbolic increase, but it's seems to me one of the safer cryptos, and it has been for I guess for the longest time, and I always kind of recommended it as a as kind of as a safer hedge, not as a financial recommendation or anything, but that was just my observation. Have you ever looked at that MKR?
well, let me see. Obviously, I didn't. Let me try to find some larger time frame chart.
This is a very interesting one, and one that here and there over time I've thrown out as it's kind of a very conservative crypto that doesn't have those wild swings that that others do, but it still has upside. It's still an altcoin.
Yeah, so in this case, this might be interesting technically. So if you look its particular structure, it's actually looks pretty nice. I will more do it like this and observe this as a correction than as a fourth wave because it's too long. As you can see, the first sequence was done at when the crypto winter started at March 2021, and then all of this subsequent has been a corrective. You don't have 5 waves down. So this is interesting because from technical sides, I think we might be post significant lows soon, and that will actually be potential. When I see the charts like this, I usually put them on my watch list, and my levels will be most likely around what is this, 896. So from here, I would look for some type of a confirmation pullback, and then my risk is small to kind of engage little by little. And then if it goes above this channel, I will increase my holdings and then look for a wave developments as usual. So definitely looks interesting. As you can see, the RSI on this daily level it's 21. It was at 21, and then it has a spike on the upside exactly when the RSI was going lower. It fell down now. It might go a little bit more, but definitely looks very interesting from technical perspective. I don't know, I didn't study the project. And also, if you look the weekly chart, you're coming at the weekly levels around already very close to 29.30. So all of this is telling to me this should be on a watch list around this level. So I'm not going to, of course, enter immediately. I want a little bit of a bounce confirmation, or you can call it anywhere, but just to tell me, okay, maybe I'm ready to go. Like this, I can buy just a falling knife, which can pierce through this and continue lower. So I'm not a masochist, how you call it.
Not a knife catcher. Thank you for the
yeah, but it's looking very nice from technical perspective for now. I was thinking the same. I mean, I was thinking the same for persistence, and it didn't do it. So I'm not kind of a oracle thing from Matrix.
Yeah. Well, this one has been very disappointing.
Yeah. So I was looking for. I can show you the chart which failed. So in this game, for me, that's why the risk is most important thing. I mean, I can make you a case, I can give you the levels, but the controlling of risk will be the most important things and what is happening on that levels. Okay, that's what people don't understand. So look, I was looking here to be the low, and the chart failed completely. So I mean, that's why I always insist, wait a little bit market to show you the advance. You're not going to lose much if you're not catch the lows. I can state my case, but I'm not going to be involved at these levels. Even if I am, I'm going to be involved very little with the very tight stops. But here, if the persistence stage that, I will be very interested to be involved here, because anything, even if it goes upside, makes, I don't know, 3 times, it's going to correct half of that. So between this and this entry, there is not much of a difference, and probability is much bigger, as you can see. The chart completely failed. I was almost, I'm never sure, but this was my levels for a potential reversal, as you can see, and chart failed. So it happened. But that's why I'm always telling people, wait, where we see the bounce of Bitcoin to 200 moving average, the other alts, and I said to my members, it is not 5 waves up, so this will go down. Not because I'm smart, just because we were patient enough to wait and look for a little bit more of a signs. That's all. Nothing smart here. It's just a simple patience and observation. That's all.
Yep, love it. Okay. Other
Sorry,
questions?
Simon. Can I just say something here? Hello?
Yes, please. Yes.
Okay. So I don't have a question, but I just wanted to thank Alex because last class he was in, I think he called Solana at about 22 pounds or $22, and we have seen the rallies after that. So I did buy very small bag of it, and I made some profit. So I just wanted to thank you, Alex, for calling that Solana at that point. Thank you.
No,
Here,
no
here,
problem.
here, here.
I mean, maybe somebody bought persistent here and lost, but I mean that's the name of the game. So, as I said, if I will be a type of an oracle, at least I will be at what is called this Simon, the retreat you have been in Bali or where it is.
Ayurvedic?
Yeah, is it good?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I highly recommend it.
You recommend that? Do you
Yeah.
know at the same time you were there, my good friend from Belgrade, a lady, she was there at the same time as you.
At the retreat?
Yeah, can you imagine?
What was her name? Well,
Her name is Stephanie.
huh. Okay. Yeah. Yes. I think there was a Stephanie there.
Yeah, she's a black, hair black girl from Belgrade, and when
Oh,
you publish,
yeah.
yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
I
So
remember.
she told me I'm at Bali, and I was amazed because it was such a coincidence because you were already there, and I said
Mhm.
it's possible. If you see Simone, just say hi. I don't know if she did it,
We
but
did.
anyhow,
We did. We met just briefly. Our paths crisscrossed by a couple of days, I think.
so it was a good thing, huh?
Yes, it's I mean, just 30-second
Yeah.
tangent here, but the man who runs it is a French five-star restaurateur who has, done many high-end kind of restaurants, but Ayurveda changed his life. And, he lost a lot of weight, regained his health, and he said, well, I'm going to build the best Ayurveda center there is and make it comfortable and luxurious for Westerners. Because if you go to India, you get beat up. It's rough. They don't
Oh,
care so much about your comfort. They want to get you better. But in Bali, all your needs are taken care of. It's good food, good environment. It's a five-star experience when it comes to Ayurveda. So yeah, I recommend it. It's called One World Ayurveda.
okay. Thanks. So I didn't ask her. I didn't stalk her, but actually, there is a comment. I want to go to Bali so bad. Yeah, should be a
If
nice.
you're gonna go, you might as well do a 3-day or a 7-day or even a 10 or a 2-week cleanse. I mean, you'll miss out on Bali. I never got to the beach. For me, it's business. When I go, I don't go for tourist stuff. I just go and take care of this business because it's my health, and that's the most important thing.
Sure, of course,
Yeah.
of course.
All right. So, well, thanks for mentioning that. And I'm sure there are other great places. These are, it's just where I happen to have been, so I can recommend it.
Yeah, I have to go somewhere. Didn't be on vacation for like I think 9 years or something. So
Well, yeah, if you want to, if you're, if you want to feel a little younger and get a tune-up, basically, it's great because you relax, but you're also rejuvenating your cells, and I certainly feel a little bit rejuvenated having done that.
okay,
So
thanks.
yes, email me if you want details. I'll hook you up.
No,
I mean,
sure, of course. And I can also ask her. I think she was for 2 weeks. So
yeah.
yeah.
The
So
whole point of it is not to have, just to finish with that. It's not to have a nice spa experience. It's to literally rejuvenate your cells so you feel younger and you become younger. That's the whole point. You get a little bit of life back. It's not just spa treatments. I mean, you
okay.
could do that anyway. Ayurveda is about, it's going deeper. All right. So other questions thoughts for Alex before we let him go? Alex, thank you. You're very generous. What time is it where you are now?
My time is midnight past 15 minutes.
All right, so we're gonna let you go. You've been overly, extremely generous. I do appreciate it. If let's see. So guys, tomorrow, if you can join us, we're gonna have one of our own members presenting their own crypto project. And then next Thursday, we'll have an update from Toonly and ToonCoin. And I just talked to Chris last night, the CEO, and the stuff that they're doing, they're going full into crypto. Like they're gonna make their whole business structure focus on ToonCoin. And so they're all in on it. And he'll tell you all about it a week from tomorrow.
Cool.
I'm super excited about this one because it feels like it's our project, like it's our little baby. And we're gonna set up a good time for it and all that stuff. Alex, any last thoughts, comments from you?
Yeah, I mean, in general, if you look all of these developments, as I said, a part of all of these other things, I very much pay attention on this sentiment, which is a kind of a little bit esoteric thing since it is not so visible. You cannot measure it in regards. I mean, you have this fear and greed index, but that's not a proper presentation of what's going on in the overall psychology of a kind of a common investing unconscious thing of humanity. So in that respect, I do tend to think that when this sentiment becomes very black, as it becomes now, when people start to calling some crazy numbers like they did when we were trading at close to 70K, I have heard some of the callings around 500,000 immediately without any corrections, which doesn't sound so kind of a sane when you look that you need, I don't know how many trillions to achieve that, to flow in. So this sentiment will be a key thing which I will watch for with a couple of things that I've showed you, but don't fall under this sentiment. That will be my main message. Look some filters, look some tools, just not to fall into this kind of a
Bearish.
massive, yeah, or a bearish sentiment, or a masses thinking, especially in these YouTube guys. They have destroyed so many people that I'm so not pissed off, but I'm too nice to make one video kind of exposing majority of them. So I was thinking to do that actually, but I don't know. I'm not that type of guy. So I mean,
Well, you can do it while being diplomatic and but
yeah,
also honest.
yeah. I mean, these guys wrecked so many people that it's. I mean, I don't know, unbelievable by forcing them into some type of things so carelessly and so blindly without any proper anything. So uh, I usually hate to see that. I mean, and that's why I think people should not fall under this influence until some very significant levels give up.
Yeah. Oh
So
wow.
I'm not bearish.
Yeah.
Crypto. I will correct myself. I'm not bearish Bitcoin. I think we're gonna see more upside. It will be the last cycle of this cycle, but it's far from over. And I think these altcoins, some of the prices are so cheap now, in my opinion, because I was patiently waiting all of this correction for a year and a half. I might
Wow.
start to enjoy some of the buying very soon, because these prices are really starting to be very cheap. So
Wow.
that's my personal opinion.
This is great, man. These are great last words to go by. We're not in a bear market. There will be a recovery, hopefully, probably. And this is a good time if anyone has any money left to get in, and we'll keep a watch on it, and we'll have you back, Alex. Hopefully sooner than later.
Sure.
Maybe towards the end of May. Would that work for you?
Yeah, sure. No problem.
Awesome.
I'm still glued to the screens. I get so many calls, you cannot imagine. Even a guy which I met him when he was like 5 years old, and he's trading crypto now after 25 years. I didn't have a
Wow.
contact. He found my number and he said, "Do you remember me? I was swimming on the beach when I
Wow.
was young. I knew his brother, and he's calling me to come to Montenegro to visit him so we can chat about cryptos." I mean, just one example. People are
This is
calling.
an amazing community. It really brings people together who never
Yeah,
would have
yeah,
come together otherwise.
yeah. But he was making the same mistakes. He's like 40K already in minus because he was so reckless to buy everything that he can every day. So I said to him, I'm coming down just to just to calm you down. We're gonna go and swim, and then you're gonna relax and rethink what you are doing. But he's so young and naive, but it's so beautiful in that respect that he wants to learn. And I think this crypto space is still young. This generation Z and still needs to learn lots of lessons.
Well,
I
I think
learned
you
them
should
hard. I
I
learned them
think you
hard.
should consider doing some portfolio management, like, a fund or something.
I will tell you the secret. So I've been many people calling me, offering me 100, 200, 300K to manage. And honestly, to say to you, it's not worth of time.
Mm.
And I immediately ask them, "Do you have 1 million?" And they run away. I do that deliberately because this is kind of a responsible thing. And if you want to manage some other people money, either you manage big or you don't manage at all.
Hmm.
So either I was waiting a call from a couple of hedge funds, which I will do, but managing myself, I will not enter because it's not worth of time and responsibility. And of course, as you know, from the karmic matter, um, you need to be involved with the lives with other people, and that is
Yep.
something which you need to be strong to handle. I don't know if I'm capable to do that.
It is a big deal. It is a big deal. You
Yeah.
have to be. We'll take a look at your chart if you want to send me your details, and we'll see.
If you do that, I will be grateful. Just a couple of sentences, so I know where should I look, except into the charts.
Well, okay. All right. So listen, guys, everybody go out and subscribe to his YouTube channel. Seriously. It's a click of a button.
No, it's Simone. It's completely fine. I'm not gonna get to a following. I mean, if you like people, that's fine. If you don't, just come and look. I usually, every time I finish the YouTube, I say the most hated sentence: "Please subscribe and click the like button." I think I hate that the most
Yeah,
about my
yeah.
life now.
It's a
That's
little, yeah,
such an awful sentence. So
yeah. Check out CTO Larson too. I think you'll like his channel. It's
I will.
CTO Larson with 2 S's. But maybe you guys can do a collaboration. I can introduce you to, and he can bring you on his channel, and you guys can talk about what you do.
He's also in astrology or technicals or
No,
both.
don't even mention astrology to him.
Oh, okay.
He's
Okay.
strictly technical. He was in not Motorola, what's the other, Nokia phone. He was the CTO of Nokia. Is it Nokia?
Oh,
And he brought them 4G and 5G. He was a big shot up at the cell phone companies, and then retired from that.
he now has his YouTube channel now.
Yeah. He's got a Thrive. He's worked really hard on making his YouTube channel. Yeah, look it up. CTO Larson. There it is. Yeah. And
It's
oh
this
wow,
one.
yeah, his channel has grown.
Oh,
He started with 3,000-4,000, but he's been working really hard at it. So he's got quite a lot of subscribers now, which is good. Good.
oh, great. I will look a couple of them now.
Yeah, check him out. And he's also very technical, and maybe you two can do a collaboration.
Sure, sure, gladly.
All right.
Yeah,
All right,
Okay,
my
guys.
friend.
Yeah, Simon, I just wanted to
Mhm.
end on a positive note. I know a lot of people have lost money, and everybody's in portfolios red, but there are positive things happening, which the people are not looking at, is that the FASB, the Financial Accounting Security, account FASB, which looks at digital assets, they're considering looking at Bitcoin being a digital asset and considered as a property. So if that happens, then all these big tech companies who are sitting on loads of cash and it's
Yeah,
depleting because of inflation, once they get good guidance, they will put the cash, like Apple, the big tech companies, they would put some allocation to Bitcoin. And these institutions like Fidelity is going to end of the year, they're going to be putting a 401ks. So it's
yeah,
just around the corner. So if fear is, it's like people who really are fearful, like people like Warren Buffett, generally, when everybody's fearful, goes and invests in Goldman Sachs and in Bank of America, at $5, $6. So one is fearful. One doesn't have cash. Unfortunately, when you want to really get these bargains, but if you only lose if you sell. So if it's horizon investing is so important. So even if you think you're 40%, 50% down, and if you really don't need the money, just don't sell. Just keep what it is. And I bet within
Yeah.
a year or 3 to 6 months, or probably within a year, definitely you would see some greens. So
yeah.
just
I,
hang in there.
I, I tend to agree with you, as I said, on these certain levels, not just very savvy technical hedge funds and other couple I do agree with you that some techs might allocate, and since they're on the billions, even a small percentage of their funds in Bitcoin will make a change. So I do agree with you completely. So I do expect that, and that usually coincides with some very strong technical levels. So there is a correlation, and I have seen that many times with certain events and technical analysis. Although this Elliott wave is more behavioral analysis than technical one, but I have also showed you the technical one in combined with that. So we might see that developing very slowly first,
Because
and
if
then
you
more
yeah.
rapidly.
If you look at the DYX, the dollar index, that has gone up really high.
Yeah, I
Because
know.
everybody's rushing to dollars, and it might hit 120, it's 105 or whatever, like 2001 levels. But cash is trash, as Ray Dalio says, and there is no other currency because everybody's printing. The digital one is not there. So it's either Bitcoin or gold. Bitcoin, gold, and silver. So one just
Yeah,
has to be
yeah.
patient. Just do dollar cost averaging. But it's easier said than done. But you need to have that discipline. But once you have that discipline, is you get there. I mean,
Yeah.
you can't take a knife, but somewhere I feel in the next 2-3 months, it's going to turn.
Yeah, I
And
agree. I agree.
for sure.
I
But
agree with you.
Yeah.
I
and
agree.
and to that end, I will share when the Larson line. So I do own. I bought the Larson line from CTO Larson, and I will share when it flips. So now it's his version of red is blue. He has blue and yellow. So when it goes neutral and goes to flip, I'll be sharing that with everybody, not just for Bitcoin, but for other potential other alts as well. So it's been it's a lagging indicator, but it's been a great indicator historically. So, alrighty. Thank you, Sandeep. Thank you for your comments. Above all, thank you, Alex. And
I wanted to ask, is Bitcoin going lower to 28K, or is 28K the bottom?
did you watch the whole thing? Were you here in the beginning?
No, I came in a little late.
Okay, you should watch the beginning. Alex, do you want to respond?
Sure. Are you gonna send this as a recording or?
I will. Yes.
Oh, okay. So okay, let's do it one more time. So we have to give it a little bit more of a. Yeah. So Xiao, do you see my screen?
No, I don't see your name.
No. No.
Wait.
So
Okay, wait.
the short answer, Sherry, is that, well, okay, we'll let Alex.
Now, okay, so basically my main focus will be this plethora of different type of things that I see on this chart between 20 and 23K. There is a possibility that we might post some type of low between 26, 25 and 28K. But that all depends what will happen here. As you can see, I have labeled the structure, how I think this is going to unfold. So if this fails and this starts to move further on the upside, then I will know. You cannot know basically in advance if this is a low or not. When you have a couple of possibilities, I will say preferred scenario is that we're gonna bounce and we're gonna retest these strong levels around 20 to 23K because they are, I think, most visible to these institutional levels to start buying bit by bit and actually produce a new trend. I'm, of course, very cognizant of the fact that this might be also some lows, but for that I will need a bigger confirmation. And I'm a patient guy, so I will wait. I'm not catching the lows, but I can say I will get involved even on the lows, which is against my overall rules at these levels, because I'm not sure, but I see a plethora of supports here between 20 and 23K. I will get involved a little bit and then I will increase if I see what I want to see. And if you want to look a couple of other things which I shown, please look recording because I will need at least 20 more minutes to explain that.
Okay, thank you. And then if there's a retrace before it goes lower to with like what level would it retrace at?
Sorry, I didn't
So
catch that.
there's two scenarios. One is that it bounces now right around between the 26 to 28, and the other is that it bounces at around 21 to 22.
Yeah, 21, 22 will be my final destination levels. Looking all of these parameters, which you can look on a video, a couple of them very strong ones, which I have explained in a detail. So time-wise, many other things, I think this will be the most viable level for many either big tech or institutions or whoever is looking to enter there. This will be something that I think it's very visible for them. The price might come. Sometimes it doesn't do that. It comes before. But anyhow, the overall conclusion here from here, I do think this is just a correction and we will continue higher towards 100K and potentially above.
Cool. Awesome. Thank you, everyone. Appreciate it. We'll have Alex back towards the end of the month, and we're going to let him go to sleep now. Thank you all. Thank you, Alex. Namaste. We'll see you next time.
Thank you very much. See you. Bye-bye.